Meanwhile, you've got Doug Burgum, the North Dakota governor.
Who's very rich himself.
Very rich, sold his company for, I think, $1 billion, something like that. He is going to be meeting today with the Michigan Republican Party, and they, too, are going to have some sort of a conference on the economy. But there was a story that broke yesterday during our show, and I showed Brian the headline, and it was, "Can Trump pick a weepy Veep?" Insiders say Doug Burgum's tears could rule him out as a VP race heats up. And what the story says is that he's a guy who, in the past, when he's talking about COVID or the loss of his dad, he will choke up. The story says that he's never actually wept in public, but it's just one of those things where he gets a little teary-eyed.
Yeah.
And I will say this, as somebody who interviews, as we all do, grieving family members who've lost somebody in their family, I get choked up on the show. And you know what? It shows I'm not a robot. I got a soul. I don't think it's a disqualifier for him, but the Daily Mail story cites a Donald Trump biography that says Donald Trump hates people who cry.
Well, I'm not one that cries, especially not on air, but if I lose my dad, you may see me shed a few. I also think there's always speculation behind the scenes of what the former president is saying or anything like that. What I've heard is that he really likes Burgum, and he likes the business experience. I honestly felt like it was sad during the presidential debate because it didn't get that much coverage because Donald Trump was the front runner.
And he tore his Achilles.
Knew he was going to win. He tore his Achilles. But some of the stuff that he was saying on the debate stage was highly impressive. This is a guy that is thoughtful, and it's a guy that's really on the top, one of the top contenders for the vice presidential pick.
He's traveled to so many different states already campaigning for Donald Trump and for the GOP party, and speaks a lot. People want to hear, how did you become so successful? How did you create this business and then sell it for billions of dollars or $1 billion? And then how did you become governor? Yeah, he has a fascinating story. It doesn't bother me if a guy tears up when he's talking about his dad. Maybe about COVID, that might be a little, when you're talking about masking.
Maybe tears of rage.
Maybe.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you
bro.
lost someone during COVID, yes. But I mean, depends on the subject. But I actually think it might be an alternative. You've got Donald Trump, who will be the strong candidate, and he's the MAGA guy. He wants someone who's not going to out-MAGA him, but to see someone who's a little bit softer and would be willing to cry, that doesn't bother me.
Well, I think something's going to happen, and I have no sources on this. This is just a gut feeling. I think they're going to put all of them in one room, and I think they're going to put on Brian's song. And they're going to find out who can hold it together when Brian Piccolo passes away and Gail Sayers is running full speed without his buddy.
It's unbelievable. I thought you were going to make a solid point.
Nope.
And you had me all the way to the end.
I just wanted to emphasize that this is a dumb talking.
I thought what you were going to say is he's going to put them all in a conference room in sleeveless shirts, and whoever comes
in a
out
sweatshop.
I will say this, and we've got, there's a lot of speculation about who Donald Trump will pick, and it sounds like he's going to
Everyone cried at the end of Brian's song, let's be honest.
This is true.
Old Yeller was 100%.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
By the way, get a vet. I mean, is your only alternative to shoot him?
The dog had rabies.
But you can get him. You can get some medical help. You don't tell a kid to get a rifle and shoot a dog.
Oh my God.
We're still talking about it. Anyway,
unless you're Christy, no.
Just one other point about the Doug Burgum cries story, and that is this. There are all these people who would like to be vice president. I would not be surprised if that story was placed in the Daily Mail by somebody.
You think so?
Absolutely.
By somebody
who wants to be vice president?
Oppo research from another team. Hey, remember, this guy's a crier.
So we're all
story made you laugh, though.
we're all interviewing the potential VP picks, right? And so I asked
J.D. Vance.
I had him yesterday, and I asked him about the other candidates. He would not speak ill of any of the. He said any one of them are going to be good picks. He said he would be disappointed if he doesn't get it, but he'll just continue to be senator. But no, at least in the public, no slinging of the mud.
Doug Burgum said the same thing. Martha said, do you want to be VP? And he said that's up to President Trump to decide, and President Trump alone. He's got a lot of great choices.
So let me just say one key would be the age, because who's ever the VP will be the leader to be the next president. And you would think that Doug Burgum in his 70s, if he gets the #2 slot, would be less of a threat. So the guys in the 40s and 50s, or women in the 40s and 50s, will think, okay, at least it's not a done deal. Like Bush 41 was obviously the next pick for Reagan.
If they don't get VP, they could get a cabinet position.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things in the Daily Mail story about Doug Burgum said that one of the reasons that he is liked by Trump is the fact that, you know, he's not going to try to out-MAGA everybody else, and he would not steal the spotlight from the boss.
And he gets things done. You give him a task, he'll set up a team. He has a whole 40 years history of executing.
Yep.
And unlike the current vice president, who goes, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do the border. I got other things on my mind. I don't really like the assignments I'm getting. No one really likes to work for me. That's not the story with Doug Burgum.
Yeah.
Nope. All right.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.